You're back. I knew you would be. This one came in from a long, straight road, the kind that goes on long enough that when no other cars pass for hours, it starts to feel less like a coincidence and more like a warning. Different countries, different roads, different names, whispered by the ones who made it back. The others weren't so lucky. David had been driving for 6 hours now. He should have stopped in Eli. He told himself he'd stop in Eli, get a room, get 4 hours, be back on the road by 6. But Eli had come and gone. His wife Sarah was expecting him by morning, so he kept driving. The radio had been losing the signal for the last 40 miles. Radio stations bleeding into static. Voices just below the threshold of comprehension, there and gone. He turned it off. The silence was immediate and complete. Outside, the desert was doing what the desert does at 2 a.m., being vast and dark and indifferent in a way that cities never manage. The sky was enormous. Stars he'd forgotten existed, pressed down from every direction. The headlights pushed 200 feet of visibility into the dark, and beyond that edge was nothing. Just road, just desert, just whatever was out there that didn't need light to exist. David rolled his window down an inch. The cold air hit him, and he exhaled and felt slightly more awake and slightly more alone simultaneously. His phone showed one bar, then none, then one again. The next exit was 43 miles. It started before he saw anything. His spine first, not pain, something stranger than pain. A rippling sensation moving upward, vertebra by vertebra, like a ribbon caught in the wind, trying to pull free of his back entirely, like his body was trying to live without him. Then his hands, tightening on the wheel without instruction, knuckles going pale. Then his stomach, dropping slowly, the way it drops in an elevator that descends too fast. That specific hollow feeling that has nothing to do with hunger and everything to do with something ancient in the blood, recognizing a threat before the conscious mind has been informed. His mouth went dry, the hair on his hand rose, then his neck, then something that had no name, but felt like every hair on his body standing at attention simultaneously. His skin tightening, pulling, the body making itself smaller without his permission. He became aware that he was holding his breath. He didn't know when he stopped breathing. The road ahead was empty. He exhaled, and then his headlights found them. At first, he thought they were people, standing at the edge of the road, maybe 50 feet ahead, just at the limit of his headlights, tall, completely still, facing the road. He eased off the accelerator without deciding to. His hand tightened on the wheel without deciding to. His body knew before his mind did. The figures didn't react to headlights. No squinting, no hand raised against the sudden brightness, no turning away, just absorbing the light without responding to it, the way a post absorbs light. David's foot found a break, and then he saw the second one. Other side of the road, same height, same absolute stillness, same quality of presence that his body was reading as wrong before his eyes could explain why, and the third sat back slightly from the road between them, standing in the dirt like it had always been standing there, like it had been standing there since before the road existed. He sat there with the engine running and the headlights on and looked at them, and immediately wished he hadn't. They were tall, too tall, not dramatically, not impossibly, just enough, the kind of tall that takes a moment to register, that the eye tries to normalize and can't quite. 6.5 feet, maybe more. The dark made it hard to be certain, and some part of David didn't want to be certain. They were thin, in the way that all photographs of famine are thin. Not the thinness of someone who doesn't eat, something older than that, something that suggests that thinness as a fundamental condition rather than a circumstance. Like flesh was something they wore loosely, imprecisely, with too much space between the bones and the surface. They wore clothing. That was the detail that hit him hardest, and he couldn't explain why. Clothing, torn, mismatched. The nearest one wore what might have been a jacket once, dark, heavy, fabric hanging off those long shoulders in strips, one sleeve present and one absent, the collar turned up on one side and destroyed on the other, beneath it something pale, a shirt that had been white a very long time ago. The second one, further away, harder to see, wore layers, multiple layers of things that didn't belong together, pattern that might have been flannel, something darker underneath. Things accumulated rather than chosen. The clothing of someone who had been traveling a very long time through weather that didn't care about them. The third one, standing in front, were almost nothing that David could identify. Just dark rags that moved slightly in a wind he couldn't feel inside the car. The kind of movement that should have been reassuring. Proof of physics, proof of ordinary air, but wasn't. He wanted to look away. He couldn't look away. This was the thing he would try to explain afterward and fail, that looking at them was unbearable, and not looking at them was even worse. That his eyes kept moving to their faces and then sliding away before resolving anything and then moving back. That some part of him needed to see their faces clearly, and some larger part of him understood that clearly was not something he wanted. What he could make out from 50 feet away through the windshield were shapes where faces should be, the geometry of a face, the suggestion of features, but nothing that resolved into eyes or mouth or expression, like a painting where the artist has sketched the placement of everything and then left before the details. The nearest one was facing him directly. He knew this, without being able to confirm it, but he knew. Knew it in the way you know someone is looking at you from across the room before you turn to check. A certainty that arrived below the threshold of evidence. It was looking at him. All three of them were looking at him. David became aware that his phone was in his hand. He didn't remember picking it up. He opened the camera. Some instinct, documented, make it real, give it edges, pointed it through the windshield towards the nearest figure. The screen showed black, not dark, not underexposed, black, like something was standing between the lens and the light. He took another, black, another, black. He kept taking them, 7, 8, 9, black everyone. David's hand found the gear shift, moving slowly, the way you move around something you don't want to startle, even though some part of you understands that startling is not how this works, that nothing about this works the way you were taught things work. He put the car in drive, pulled back onto the road, and drove. Just drove at a steady speed with both hands on the wheel and his eyes on the road ahead, and a specific prayer of someone who had stopped believing in prayer running on loop in the back of his mind. He checked the mirror, glanced just once. He didn't dare to do it again. The road behind him was empty, dark, completely ordinary. He exhaled for what felt like the first time in several minutes and drove. He didn't stop at the next exit. He didn't stop until the lights of a truck stop appeared on the horizon, and he pulled in and sat in the parking lot with the engine running for a long time. A trucker knocked on his window 20 minutes later, asked if he was alright. The trucker looked at him the way people look at someone who is clearly not alright and moved on. David sat there until his hands stopped shaking. Then he opened his phone. He scrolled past the phone notifications, past the messages from his wife, past the missed calls, all the way back to his camera roll, to the photographs he took at the mile marker 156. There were 11 of them, every single one black, not dark, not blurred, not corrupted in any way his phone could explain, just black. He called his wife, told her he'd be a few hours late, didn't tell her why. He never drove that road again. Well, that's our story for the night. These stories never truly end. They just find new mouths to crawl out of. And that, steady drifters, is where our signal fades. Stay tuned. Same frequency, next dark night.